Link engaged.
Welcome, welcome, hedge. It's all down to this. We are in Game 4 in any best of 5. Game 4 means one player is one game away from a first place prize, and that player would be Prae.ThorZaIN in the right position as the red Terran pieces hailing from Sweden. In the south, we have the Frenchman from Mill.Adelscott as the orange Protoss pieces. And I just gotta say, Chill, I'm very impressed with ThorZaIN's decision-making with those drops and his ability to hold off a lot of this sort of crazy goofiness that's being thrown at him.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember actually a ladder game I played personally where someone did that kind of goofy a Warp Prism play, and it completely destroyed me. Just running in back and forth. It seems like easy to chase it down with a few units, but when it's controlled well and it's bouncing between your natural and your main base, it's easy to fall apart. ThorZaIN really handled it well, and the turning point for the last game for me was when he held at that choke point, which I originally thought was a mistake, but turned out to be exactly what he needed, a guarded place that he can call, this is my territory, you don't cross this line. And when Adelscott came in with that expected big push, even though there weren't SCVs available to repair it, still held it off and then turned it around despite Adelscott having the gold base.
Yeah, and I mean, even in Game 2, I mean, something that's been consistently impressive to me, you know, between all the games we've seen of ThorZaIN is the fact that he's a little bit lower on the production facility count and higher on all the tech add-ons. He has more upgrades, he's getting ghosts, he's getting medevacs, and his overall Marine Marauder count is a little bit low. That's actually very, very hard to pull off properly, but his decision-making on when to build bunkers, when to salvage them, when to drop is just so good. I'm really, really impressed by that, because the easiest way to lose if you're getting too many tech-related things is just for your opponent to attack your front. And you go, oh, right. Yeah, that's right. And Adelscott is absolutely the kind of player who knows precisely how to exploit that sort of weakened front. And ThorZaIN's just been completely impenetrable. And wow, ThorZaIN, he has so many strategies, Chill. He has like 100. There's the opening. There is the no-gas command center from ThorZaIN, bringing more pain onto our French.
And you know what's really unfortunate for Adelscott, which happens to be really fortunate for ThorZaIN, is this is the one game where Adelscott has chosen not to fast scout. I mean, the probe is now just leaving at 22 supply. Gonna roll in, and he will see the expansion now, but it's kind of at the point where if you wanted to transition to do something to punish this quick expansion, that ship may have sailed with the bunker already going up and the expansion just about over 50% complete now, and ThorZaIN not even getting gas. So he's going to pull a bunch of SCVs. I'm going to be interested to see what these SCVs are, if they're just defensive or if he's worried about an attack coming. Looks like he's worried about this Zealot coming, but that bunker's pretty good against Zealots.
Now, one thing to note, I don't know if you heard me, Chill, but I made this noise. I went... And it's because Adelscott, our flying Frenchman, was chrono boosting a gateway that was not producing anything. Right when the cybernetics were finished, he chrono boosted on it, and there was no Stalker getting built, and right before Chrono Boost finished, the Stalker ended up completing, and that just stung so much to see. And it looks like Adelscott, I think, doing a good recovery play, redevoting all his Chrono Boost to getting the Warp Gate done as fast as possible, getting a 4 Warp Gate up as fast as possible, but still, that's, again, a shining example of the sort of... I guess, crumble-to that Adelscott experiences when under a lot of pressure. His fundamentals and all those basics start to slowly slip if he's really feeling under the gun.
Now, I don't mind the decision to 4-gate here, Dave, but correct me if I'm wrong. You know the natural expansion is going to have a lot of SCVs repairing these bunkers, and you have one chance to break it. So I would have liked to see Adelscott put down the second assimilator and go for a more sentry-heavy 4-gate to break this. Get those force fields up, deny the repair. It looks like he's going Adelscott 4-gate, which is just make a lot of Stalkers and Zealots. And look at all these SCVs and all these bunkers going up. There's only 2 mules mining, and nice job there. Stalkers going in to snipe the SCVs, but I don't think he's going to be able to break through this line.
You know, interestingly, I don't mind this as much when in Adelscott's position, because I used to think that you had one chance to be able to break it, but, I mean, as we've seen from a player like Noni, aka Liquid Tyler, in a lot of tournaments, you can just keep stockpiling a lot of Warp Gate units and put your opponent under tremendous pressure. And look at ThorZaIN. He's not really having that many SCVs mined. If you look at the production tab, there are long stretches where there's absolutely no SCVs building. But here comes the classic ThorZaIN smart responding. Look at him getting the factory while cutting SCV production. A very counterintuitive play, extremely long-term focused. Very, very cool, and Adelscott now taking his expansion that was scanned by ThorZaIN. Both players playing very, very well, and look at the food counts between the two players. 52 versus 38, and here comes another big push for Adelscott.
Looks like he's going to get the Zealots right in there trying to deal with the bunkers, and actually one bunker not even taken out, trying to snipe the SCVs to get some value out of this. Supplies showing 41 for ThorZaIN, 39 for Adelscott, Harvesters favoring Adelscott as well, and also the income tab. Now, I don't know if that's a tisk or a TSS or what he's doing there, but Adelscott not happy with his execution there. Let's see how he transitions out of this. Putting down a Robo to complement his 4-gate now. Expansion just about to finish, but income is going to swing in the favor of ThorZaIN. He's got those 4 bunkers, so he knows he cannot be broken at this point. Factory Tech Lab is going to complete. Probably going to be making the siege tank to, yes he is, as he's getting siege mode first. Then going to make the siege tank to make sure he doesn't die in the mid game.
God, ThorZaIN, what a stunning defensive player. That's one of those skills that is highly underrated. Everyone loves the flair of the aggressive players like July, like Marine King Prime. But you know what? This sort of defensive play from ThorZaIN is what wins tournaments. The expansion down right now for Adelscott. We do see that there is that Robo facility done right now. We'll likely be getting some observers. No, getting a Warp Prism. Cool, cool, cool. I'm into it. And we do see, again, ThorZaIN not getting the Stim first, but instead favoring the Combat Shield. Many Terran players firmly believe that Stim is really not so great with Marines until you have Medivacs. For Marauders, it's fine to get a fast Stim, but they just don't like the other alternatives too much. Adelscott now just wandering around with some of his gateway units. ThorZaIN still in defensive mode and going to be sieging up that tank and playing oh so safe.
Warp Prism out now, going to load up 4 Stalkers and go swing onto the cliff of ThorZaIN, going to harass from that high ground, of course, in StarCraft 2. High ground mechanics have changed, so this is about 500 times more annoying than it was in Brood War, as these Stalkers cannot be seen. Going to go in, rain terror down on those SCVs, and as soon as scan goes off, he's just going to jump into that Warp Prism yet again, so a really annoying situation, and kind of a reversal of what we saw in Brood War, where Terran would be doing this to Protoss. ThorZaIN now sieging up. He probably should be floating a building over here, but no, he's got a medevac on the way, so that's going to be able to deal with it. Warp Prism getting a little bit greedy. Going to fly in back here. Marines already on the way, and they're holding those combat shields. That makes them a little bit beefier against these Stalkers, and looks like they got lost as the Stalkers continue to go up. Going to drop for some harassment here, take out an SCV or 2. Probably going to jump back in, and the harassment just continues here from Adelscott.
You know, it's kind of interesting to think about now. I mean, I'm still a player who does not incorporate enough Warp Prism harass into my little gamut of tools, but really, if you think about it, without any stim, it's very easy to do drop Stalker harass. You can pick off Marines from afar, pick off things at distances, and it's a little bit too tough for non-stim Marines to do that much or to really provide an answer. But I think ThorZaIN is doing the smart thing. Look at this. Not responding to that direct threat of the drop at all. We don't see Vikings getting produced, or we see one getting produced, but he's not building a whole bunch of turrets around to block it off. He's sticking to his guns, relying more on his solid play, and doing a little bit of counter-dropping himself on the high ground. This could prove to be very risky. The instant Adelscott finds Zach is going to crawl up there with his King Spider play. The Colossus.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried, actually. He's taking his time, going to bring in more units, and that's going to make this more painful if it doesn't work successfully.
He's going to commit to losing a lot on this cliff.
Yeah. He's putting all his chips on this this Turbo Newbie. It's an old name for you old Brood War players. As a tank siege up, going to start taking out Probe's bunker actually going up. Going to be loaded with these barracks units. And Adelscott forced to pull probes, going to lose that assimilator, and now bringing his entire army back. It looks like he's not going to bring back the Warp Prism. He's actually just going to put it into the main base of ThorZaIN and turn it into phasing mode or pyloning mode or whatever you want to call it. And this is actually starting to be a problem for Adelscott. Vikings now joining the fray over here, and a lot of damage being dealt by these tanks. I think Adelscott's going to have to deal with this fairly cleanly, and if he does, he should find a nice advantage. But it's going to be uncomfortable and difficult.
And, I mean, there's the push forward. It looks like he's finally beginning to shoot at the tanks, manages to take out one. There's the Unsiege. Oh no, one of the Colossi swings on the right side of the Vespene Geyser and gets eliminated. ThorZaIN still doing a lot of damage. Adelscott slowly running out of options. He's warping in more Zealots into the main of ThorZaIN, but it looks like neither player seems to have remembered that anything was happening up there. And there's the warping. They try to do a little bit of damage, but man, ThorZaIN's so prepared for that. I'm a little surprised that Adelscott isn't able to have cleaned this up a touch more quickly. The Zealots in the main still doing a decent amount of damage, but now the Warp Prism there has fallen. And Adelscott just really, really looking to be in a rough position.
Yeah, when that harassment was going on, Adelscott looked a little broken down at 20 APM. Maybe stopped playing for a little bit. Now, I don't know who's a little dick, but someone is, according to Adelscott. And I can't believe this cliffing actually worked. You know, it's completely successful. Having the thermal lance and those two colossi, I thought Adelscott would have been able to break that easily, but it's just showing digging yourself in on this cliff. Really annoying for Protoss to deal with as he moves in yet again with the colossi. Going to take out and blink up, and that's going to be the end of this. Wow. So let's take a look at the supplies after this fray is over. We're at 119 for Adelscott, 119 for ThorZaIN. Income tab going to show that ThorZaIN, as expected, has a little bit of an advantage.
Wow, he does have a little advantage at this point, but he's a little low on his probe count, so he's adding on that second Vespene Geyser. And ThorZaIN is in a touch of a passive position. We do see him getting a lot of Stalkers out, or excuse me, a lot of Vikings out right now. And oh no, Adelscott, he's going to try to advance forward. And there's the single Marine stimming to advance forward. It gets chewed to bits. Let's see if there's some miracle that will allow Adelscott to win this battle.
Trying to find the right position, moving those Stalkers forward, blinking away to dodge that tank fire. He's got, how many Vikings are out here? It looks like 6. Does he have more on the way? Wow, yes, he's got 2 more coming out. So we'll be able to snipe those Colossi fairly quickly. And looks like ThorZaIN is getting aggressive here. And that's really nice because at the 9 o'clock main, Adelscott is taking another base. And Adelscott moving forward with those Colossi, taking tank fire. And looks like this is going to be it. Moving forward, Colossi trying to do a lot of damage, getting hit by the Vikings. But moving forward, the gateway units buffering a lot of damage. Stalkers decide to get right in there and blink right up. All the Colossi down, but a lot of Stalkers getting taken out by Marauders. Are they going to be able to live? And actually, the Vikings cutting away the escape route of the Stalkers. That's going to do so much damage to Adelscott. Down at 72 supply. ThorZaIN way up at 120 and pushing in, trying to seal the victory and trying to become the victor of the Team Liquid TeamSpeak Open number 12.
Oh, look at this huge sprint right in. Adelscott experiencing a total collapse, trying to swing out with his probes. Tries to do a little blink micro, but warping in from 4 warp gates versus an army of that size is just not going to be particularly effective. And there's the good game. ThorZaIN with the capital GG. Huge props to ThorZaIN, who did an extraordinary array of strategies in this TL Open and just kept on winning no matter who his opponents were. I mean, huge hat off there to ThorZaIN, who worked through Cloud, who worked through Nerchio. And I mean, if you just keep sliding back, you will see more and more strong players that he managed to take down.
So, I mean, yeah, exactly. He lost the first game, maybe to an opponent he wasn't aware of his style. I feel like he adapted. He really tailored his style to the opponent he was playing. Switched over from that mech style to a more infantry-based mobile style and really dealt with Adelscott really well. So for his efforts, he's going to get $100 courtesy of TeamSpeak. And we're going to see him in the TSL number 3, another European Terran player making it through. Adelscott is going to get $50. He's also going to pick up a bunch of qualifier points, 100 qualifier points. So that's going to put him in the running to make it through on points. And we'll be looking for him in the future with upcoming TSL qualifiers.
Yeah, and I mean, again, I want to give a big shout out as well to that second place player, Adelscott. I would like this message to get back to him. I genuinely think that Adelscott has the mind and the build orders and the play style to be one of the best Protosses around. but there's just that crumble that happens when he starts losing momentum. I mean, you even saw it in Game 2 after Adelscott had the win. He was typing cheerful and happy things to ThorZaIN,
Right.
and then in that last game when Adelscott was down and it went a little bit not his way, you saw that frustration come through. And that is really Adelscott's worst enemy. I think if he was a little more focused in that scrap station game, he could have easily sealed the deal. And I think in this game we saw, again, a little bit of a crumble.